Today is Jimmy Swaggart's funeral. Yes. Today, the man who preached for over 70 years, who changed lives with his voice and songs, is being laid to rest. Jimmy Swaggart died on July 9, 2025 at the age of 90. And today, on July 12, 2025, his funeral is taking place at the Family Worship Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the same church where he once stood on the pulpit and preached to millions across the world. Now, instead of preaching, his body lies in peace. People are entering the church with heavy hearts, some crying, some quietly remembering what Jimmy meant to them. The church is filled with people who have traveled from all over the country and even different parts of the world. The atmosphere inside is emotional but peaceful. Gospel music plays softly in the background, the same kind of music Jimmy loved. Some people are whispering prayers, others are quietly singing along. The sound of his voice still lives in their memories. For many, Jimmy wasn't just a preacher. He was a guide, a teacher, a comfort in hard times. One elderly woman near the front said, "I gave my life to God listening to Jimmy in 1986. He changed my world." Jimmy Swaggart had faced many health issues in recent years. Although his family kept most of the details private, some close sources shared that he had been in and out of the hospital since 2023. Still, his death felt sudden to many. According to his family, he passed away peacefully in his sleep. His wife Frances Swaggart was by his side. After so many years of preaching, singing, and serving, Jimmy finally rested, but his message still echoes in the lives he touched. During the funeral, his son Donnie Swaggart gave an emotional speech. With tears in his eyes, Donnie said, "My father was a fighter. He loved God, he loved people, and he never gave up, even when life got tough." Donnie promised the audience that the Swaggart family would continue the work Jimmy started. He said, "Dad, your voice may be silent now, but your message will live on." These words brought many in the church to tears. Jimmy's grandson, Gabriel, also shared his love and admiration for his grandfather. He said, "Papa, I will keep preaching. I will keep singing. You showed me what faith looks like." One of the most powerful things about Jimmy Swaggart was his music. His voice had power. His piano playing was unique. His gospel albums sold millions. Songs like "Jesus, Use Me," and "There Is a River" weren't just music, they were prayers. He didn't perform, he worshipped. And people around the world connected with his heart. One man in the crowd said, "When Jimmy sang, you felt like God was right there in the room." Even younger gospel artists today still sing his songs. His music crosses generations, but Jimmy's journey was not always smooth. In the late 1980s, he faced a public scandal that shook the Christian world. People were shocked. Some turned away. But Jimmy did not run, he cried. He stood before cameras and said, "I have sinned against you, my Lord." That moment was seen by millions. It was raw. It was honest. And it showed that even strong leaders can fall. But more importantly, it showed how a man can rise again. Jimmy returned to preaching. He rebuilt his ministry. He worked hard to win back trust. That's something not everyone can do. If we compare Jimmy Swaggart's journey with others in similar positions, we see the difference clearly. When televangelists like Jim Bakker faced scandals, their public trust was destroyed. Many left and never fully returned. But Jimmy stood his ground. He faced the people, asked for forgiveness, and started again. That takes courage. It also takes true faith. He didn't try to hide. He didn't change his message. He stayed the same preacher. Broken, but faithful. Many people today, especially young pastors, look up to Jimmy Swaggart's courage. One young preacher at the funeral said, "We need more voices like Brother Jimmy." He didn't care about being famous. He cared about being faithful. Jimmy's sermons are still shared on YouTube and social media. His television network, Sun Life Broadcasting Network, still reaches homes across the world. One fan tweeted, "I was in jail when I heard Jimmy preach. That night, I changed my life. Now, I help others." That's the power of his words. The Family Worship Center was decorated with care. A large portrait of Jimmy stood at the center. He was smiling, sitting at the piano, Around him were white lilies, red roses, and soft candlelight. People sang his favorite hymns together, "I'll Never Be Lonely Again," "Looking for a City," and more. Some cried while singing, others smiled through their tears. It wasn't just a funeral, it was a celebration of a man who gave everything to his calling. Jimmy's wife, Frances Swaggart, sat in the front row quietly wiping her tears. They were married for over 70 years. In a world where marriages break easily, their love stood firm. Frances was always beside him in the church, on TV, during tough times, and in moments of victory. She once said in an old interview, "Wasn't just Jimmy's wife. I was part of his ministry." Her presence at the funeral was powerful. It reminded everyone of how strong and devoted she had been. Online tributes came flooding in. Gospel singer C. Swinnens posted, "Jimmy Swaggart helped shape my faith with his songs and messages. His passion was unmatched." Kirk Franklin tweeted, "Old school faith, real power. Rest easy, sir." Even country singer Reba McEntire said, "His voice reached places no sermon ever could. A true servant of God." The internet was full of stories, videos, and personal memories. Jimmy's impact was bigger than just sermons. He left a mark on people's hearts. Now many are wondering, what's next for his ministry? Donnie and Gabriel Swaggart have already promised to continue preaching. The Family Worship Center will remain open. The TV network will keep airing Jimmy's old messages. And new voices will rise, but they will carry his spirit. People believe Jimmy's death might even bring more attention to his work. As one staff member said, "Brother Jimmy may be gone, but his message is just getting started." It's important to ask what made Jimmy Swaggart different. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes, but he never pretended to be something he wasn't. He was real. He cried in public. He admitted when he was wrong, and he didn't give up. In today's world, where people hide behind fake images, Jimmy's honesty was powerful. Maybe that's why people loved him so much. He gave them hope, not just with his words, but with his life. Now, as we say goodbye, we must ask ourselves some questions. What are we doing with our lives? Are we being honest? Are we lifting others up like Jimmy did? What legacy are we building? Jimmy Swaggart is no longer with us, but he left behind a light that will keep shining. His songs, his voice, his message, they are still alive. Many people outside the family worship center held candles and sang his favorite hymns while watching the service on large outdoor screens. Some families came with their children, saying, "We wanted our kids to see who taught us about God." The man said, "We watched Jimmy every Sunday for 40 years. It was like going to church with family." That's how close his followers felt to him. Not just like listeners, but like his extended family. Inside the church, as the service neared its end, a final prayer was given for peace, strength, and gratitude. The pastor, leading the closing prayer, said, "Lord, thank you for giving us Brother Jimmy. He touched lives we will never know. Let us carry forward his spirit, not just in words, but in action." As those words echoed in the church, many people stood silently, holding hands, feeling the weight of the moment. It wasn't just about saying goodbye. It was about holding on to what he stood for: faith, forgiveness, and truth. After the funeral, a private burial ceremony was held with only close family and friends. Jimmy was laid to rest in Baton Rouge, where he had lived and preached for decades. His grave is simple but meaningful, a stone that reads, "Jimmy Swaggart, a servant of God." Flowers covered the ground, and many quietly left personal notes near his grave. A young girl left a letter that said, "Thank you for helping my father find God. Because of you, I have a happy home. Even in failure, there is hope. Even in pain, there can be a comeback. And even in death, the message lives on." He was not perfect, but he was faithful. He made mistakes, but he didn't quit. That's why his story matters. Now it's our turn to decide, will we carry his message forward or let it fade away? The choice belongs to each of us. So how will you remember Jimmy Swaggart? As a singer? A preacher? A man who rose after falling? What story of his touched your heart the most? You think one man's faith can change millions of lives? Will you take inspiration from his journey to rise, to serve, and to believe? Again, Jimmy Swaggart is gone, but his life is a message. It's a message of faith, of honesty, of never giving up. Maybe it's time we listen again. Maybe it's time we carry his message forward. Because true leaders